The face of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
B1 brothers and sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. If you are new to the channel, please make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. Also, leave a like, share it on your various social media platforms. That's your Instagram, your Twitter, your Snapchat, your whatever other TikTok, whatever, I don't know. Share it on your various social media platforms so we can help the growth of the channel. And enjoy and watch it all the way through, please. Thank you very much. But we got some people in the chat. Let me give our salutes to the people in the chat. We have Cyberdine, Peace, Love, and Reparations, B1. Yeah, absolutely. Shots on Target, B1. Our brother Torian, B1. Our sister, Royal Me. I was about to say our sister. Chilling with Monica, B1. Real women don't do nonsense. Peace and love to every single last one of y'all. Now, I know y'all about to get on me for being late. I just know it. I know it. How do I know it? Because I know it. It was not my fault. I don't know what it is lately, but StreamYard has had a big problem. I don't know if it's going through updates or something like that, because I know they're trying to add more features onto it, because I guess they're competing now with other different streaming platforms. So I don't know, but everything was ready, and then the camera wouldn't shut on. The camera's plugged in, the microphone's plugged in, but the camera and the microphone wouldn't come on StreamYard. I had to close it, open it, close it, open it, close it, open it, and then it froze. So then I had to reset the whole laptop. So that's really what happened. But we're here now, and everything seems like it's running smoothly now. There's no buffering or anything of that sort, anything of that nature. Latiana is in here. I haven't seen you in I haven't seen you in a while. How are you doing? How are you? And then we have James. How are you, sir? Now, without any further ado, because we're already a little behind schedule, I want to first off thank everybody. We had a pretty good sale last week for the 15% off plus free shipping sale that we had on the merchandise last week. I want to thank everybody for supporting. I want to thank everybody who purchased merchandise. I want to thank everybody who shared the link. There was a lot of people who were like, hey, can't really afford it right now, but I will share the link. So I saw it on your Twitter or I saw it on your Instagram. They were like, hey, go check out Afro Elite's merchandise. So thank you all very much for doing so. Carla, how are you? How are you? Hope everybody is doing well this Monday. Let me get to the link. I'm telling y'all, I tried to be here on time. I really did. I really did. Let me get to the link. Now, I'm gonna read this. Just gonna kind of get straight into it. Let me see. Now, as you guys know, we've been consistently pursuing the cause of reparations. For the last, I really want to say the big push of reparations was in 2019. So really, because it's about to be 2023. So really for the last like 4 years, we've been pushing very heavily on slave reparations. Now we have pushed, so you guys know, clarifying, we are pushing for slavery reparations specifically and very exclusively for the descendants of American slaves. This isn't for all black people, and this is for slavery reparations. Now, people have asked me, I remember having a Revolt, an interview with Revolt during the Rally for Reparations. I did a small interview with them. And they asked me about other forms of reparations, or should we give reparations for everything else? And to be honest with you, I believe we should. We should give reparations for everything else. Jim Crow, redlining, just all of the discrimination, like Tulsa, Oklahoma, all of these things. I believe we should. However, this is just my opinion. However, I feel it would be better for us to focus right now on slavery reparations, and then get the bag with that first, and then we can talk about the Jim Crow and all of that stuff. Because if we start off with we start off with everything, then I feel like it makes the case a little bit more difficult for us to argue lineage based stuff. So let's start off with slavery reparations. I feel like that would be a good stepping stone for us to talk about the G1 bill, for us to talk about the GI bill, for us to talk about the redlining and everything else. I feel like the big fish, that's the slavery reparations, you know. Um so that was my opinion on that. Also, we're talking about the federal government, the United States government, paying descendants of slaves reparations. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about state to state reparations, although I have absolutely no problem with that. But we're not going based off of the state to state reparations, because then that varies. And then, okay, if I live here, I get this much. But if my parents lived here, they get this much. And then all of these different things, right? So we're going off of the federal reparations. However, we're not going to say no to the state giving us money too. We're not going to say no to that. Now, this is what this is about. This isn't about the federal government giving us reparations. This is about the state of California giving us reparations. So I'm prefixing this to say, even though this is a good win, or this could be, I'm not going to say it is, but it could be a good win. This isn't the target. This is kind of like, this is a good mark, but this isn't the big mark. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want anybody off by reading this and to be like, oh, wow, we did it. You know what I'm saying? Not really. Not yet. Okay. So without any further ado, let me see. I'm going to pull this up, and then I'm going to read this. There's a lot to break down. This article is actually pretty short, though. This was today. I tried to find the most recent one I could. This was today from ABC, I guess 13 News. I don't know. ABC News. So, California could owe slave descendants up to $569 billion total in reparations, experts say. Now, the very first thing that I want to say with this is they're talking about slave descendants. They could owe slave descendants. See, that's a trick thing. That's a trick thing, because we're not talking about slave descendants. We're talking about descendants of American slaves. See, that's a little trick that they'll pull if we allow them to do that. If we allow them to be all like, oh yeah, slave descendants, because slave descendants is very, or it's not very vague. It's not very vague at all, but it's just vague enough. Before I really get into it, actually, let me pause this real quick to explain why it's very important to be specific. And Dr. Claude Anderson, he talks about this all the time. The need for specificity, okay? We have to be specific, because if we do not specify exclusively who gets it and who doesn't get it, if we leave a little gray area, a little bit of wiggle room, then you can have people who get it who wouldn't qualify. When they get it and they don't qualify, then that opens the door for a whole bunch of other people to get it and not qualify. If that becomes the case, then everybody's just going to get it. And if everybody gets it, it's not going to really be reparations. It's not going to be reparations. It's just going to be like another stimulus check. And then black people will be filtered down, and we will be at the bottom of that stimulus check. We don't have time and time to keep getting reparations right. We got to hit our mark the very first time. We can't be messing up. We have to be very specific. This has been the problem in black society for the longest time. The fact that they'll say black, they'll say black. Everything we are the face of, and then next thing you know, they shoehorn some other group and they reap most of the benefit. Just like with affirmative action. Affirmative action was supposed to be because for discrimination in different places like especially the labor market, the job force, and then you have schools and other things like that that were discriminating against qualified black people, and they were giving the oppressor class preferential treatment. And the affirmative action came about to kind of offset that. And then when you added the vague term of minority, then next thing you know, what does a minority in America mean? Well, everybody is a kind of a minority in a little sense, in a little bit. So now everybody can qualify for affirmative action, you know? So that's why we have to be very specific when we use certain terms like minority, people of color, all of that stuff. That opens the door, and that ultimately is going to defeat the purpose, because the purpose for us getting reparations, our goal of us getting reparations, is not just because we're owed it. It's because we're owed it anyway. If we were all rich, if we were all billionaires, we would still be owed reparations. Don't get me wrong. But the purpose that we're trying to get reparations is because eventually that's going to set the stepping stone of defeating the system of anti-black racism. You already know what I mean. WS. That's what we're going to do, because our reparations is going to be the thing that gives us the stepping stone or the rocket boost to close the racial wealth gap. That closing the racial wealth gap needs to be every black person's, specifically every FBA's number one priority. Our number one priority needs to be closing the racial wealth gap, because once that is closed, all of these other little issues will start fixing itself. All of these other smaller issues will start fixing itself. So we need to close the racial wealth gap. And if you understand, like if you guys have read Powernomics by Dr. Clyde Anderson, he shows or he teaches that one of the best ways to close the racial wealth gap is for us to get our reparations that we were owed ever since we left the plantation in 1965. So this is what we're fighting for. It's not just for us, but it's for the ultimate goal of really the liberation of our people going forward. So we have to be very specific. So even when you see something as that seems like it's not a big deal, if it's not exactly our language, we cannot accept that. Okay? Now somebody says a question. I was born, raised in California. My mom and dad are from Mississippi and Louisiana. Do I qualify? To be honest, I really can't tell you if you qualify for it. Um you probably, if you were born and you were raised there, you probably could. I would assume so. You're a resident. I would assume so. I don't think your whole family has always had to live in California. I don't think so. I didn't read anything about that. I would assume so. Yes. Hit that like button. Y'all please make sure y'all leave a like on this. So, anytime we see something like slave descendants, no. Why we cannot do slave descendants? Because black people, there's slavery all over the world. Of course, we know this. We are talking about American slavery, not the planet Earth slavery. We're not paying reparations to slavery that happened in Japan. We're not paying reparations to slavery that happened in Africa. We're not paying reparations to slavery that happened anywhere around the world. This is reparations for slavery that happened under the watch and protection. When I say protection, they protected it. Watch and protection and governance of the United States of America. So any other slavery thing that happens outside of the United States of America does not count whatsoever. Does not count. So when they say descendants of slaves, you can have people come over here. Well, technically, you know what I'm saying? I'm Latino and there was slavery in Mexico. I'm a descendant of slaves. The Spanish enslaved Mexicans. So I'm a descendant of slaves. No, it don't work that way. This is why we have to be airtight with the language. But let's continue. Okay, here we go. Oh, hold on. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay. Now it says it's it says five member experts consulting team for California Reparations Task Force indi- um indicate the state's payout could total as much as 569 billion. 569 billion. Okay. The consulting group came to this conclusion after it multiplied the average per capita housing wealth gap with the number of black residents living in California since 1980. So to answer the question, who was it, good night, to answer your question, I don't know if you were living in California in 1980, maybe that's the stipulation for that. Now, it goes on to say, now these are, I guess, the quotes from some of the people on the task force, where they said, it is likely that not all blacks who lived in California in 2021 also resided in the state between 1933 and 1977 or are legal heirs of eligible recipients who did. A scope of work, reports to the task force indicated. To estimate the state's maximum liability for racist redlining practices, the average per capita housing wealth gap is multiplied with the number of black California residents in 1980, the report showed. So maybe I'm not as informed on the California task force as other people. So you might want to ask maybe other people about that. I know our brother Tariq has been involved with that. So he might, I'm sure he knows more, and he stays there. So he knows more than me on that. But based off of what it's saying right here, it seems as if this is you have to, I guess, been here at least since 1980. That's kind of what I'm getting off this. Okay. Oh, you were born in the late 60s? Okay, well, based off of what this was saying, then I think you would qualify. Now, it continues to say, earlier this year, the task force voted in favor of using lineage instead of race. Shout out to us. We're the ones who pushed that. We are the ones who pushed that because they tried to do a little trick bag. We're the ones who was all like, nope, this got to be lineage based. So shout out to y'all for doing that. Especially shout out to the ones in California. Okay. Starting over, earlier this year, the task force voted in favor of using lineage instead of race to determine eligibility for reparations in the state, according to California Black media. Now, this is another quote. The community eligibility will be based on lineage determined by an individual of African American, the descendant of a person enslaved as chattel, or descendant of a free black person living in the United States prior to the end of the 19th century. Now, with that one, no, now I'm not really 100% on that one. I'm not really 100% on that one because to say I'm a descendant of a free black person who was living here prior to the 19th century, that's no. That's a little tricky there. That's a little tricky there because then you can have, oh, well, my people are from Jamaica. We got here after, because slavery, they say, but slavery ended in 1965. So, oh yeah, my people got here in the 1980s, but that was before the 1880s. That was before the 1900s. So I'm a descendant of somebody who was here prior to the 1900s, but I'm not a descendant of slaves. That's see they try to throw a little something in there just to kind of, they say something good and then they throw a little bit of something in there so they can come back later. That thing, if we don't pull it out, it's like a weed. If we don't pull it out, it's gonna grow and it's gonna become a big problem. And then it's gonna kill, if you guys know about weeds, weeds kill like the flowers and the plant life around it. So if you don't pull it by its root when you first start seeing it, then it's gonna grow and it's become a bigger problem. The whole, okay, well, I'm a descendant of a free black person who lived here prior to 19th century. Why would you add that? You got to really think, why would they add that instead of just saying a black person who can trace their lineage at least back to slavery, at least back to the 1860s, 1850s, or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you with that, it creates a little bit of wiggle room. And remember how we discussed earlier, just that little bit of wiggle room is enough to completely mess up the whole plan. So we don't want to let that slide. Okay, exactly. Royal me, bait and switch. Exactly. So continuing, it says a spokesman for the state of California's Reparations Task Force, which was created in 2020 following the passage of Assembly Bill 3121, told the National Desk TND it is exploring options for reparation recommendations. Now, this is just a link to, I guess, I don't know what this is about, but we're still on the article. Now, the spokesman also indicated that while primarily recommendations can be found in I got a smudge on my laptop. Interim report released earlier this year by the task force, no financial figures are outlined in the report, and no final recommendations or financial reparations have been finalized or presented yet to the California legislator. Okay. But sometime next year, following public hearings and extensive research, the task force told TND it will issue a new report that will explore options for reparations. Jovan Scott Lewis, a University of California, Berkeley professor and a member of the task force, indicated to the New York Times that the plan must be robust and include plenty of options. That's another one. That's another one. Plenty of options. No, we're not doing plenty of options. To me, there's only one option, and to you guys, there should only be one option, and that option is cutting the check. That is it. We're not doing, well, you know what? I feel like slavery in the form of legalizing weed. I feel like I think California already does that, but I feel like slavery in the form of free health care. I feel like slavery in the form of housing loans. I feel like slavery in the form of education grants. No, there's not no plenty of options as far as reparations. Now, the only thing that I can feel might be determined is have how often y'all gonna send the checks weekly, y'all gonna send them monthly, y'all gonna send them bi-weekly, how much is each check gonna be? See, that's the only thing that I feel like we need to have further discussion about, just the details about the check. That's all. Just that's really just it. No, oh, what kind of reparations? We're going to give you $569 billion worth of healthy fruits and vegetables. No, that's no, absolutely not. Okay. You said you see you appreciate everybody in the chat. You say love you love I'm doing my thing. Absolutely. I love the fact that you guys are here. Got a good amount of people in the room. If you guys can please hit that like button and retweet this on your Twitter page. Y'all can retweet this, or I tweeted it. So y'all can just go to Twitter and then y'all can retweet my tweet so more people can know that we're live. Exactly. Run us the money. Because what they tried to do is hold on. That cut me out. What they do is they say something really good in the headlines. Imagine the headlines: $569 billion in reparations to the descendants of American slaves. That's a great headline. And what they're counting on is that you're not going to read the thing all the way through, and if you do, you're not going to see the bait and switch that they play. You're reading it and you're like, oh wow, that's pretty good. Now, if I was not an educated person as far as their tactics, me reading this, I would be like, oh wow, I see we're making progress. I don't see a problem with this. But since I know the tactics, since I'm aware of how they like to play games, I know for a fact that okay, what they're gonna, the descendants of slaves, and then you're going to have a whole bunch of people. Well, I'm a descendant of a slave from Spain, so technically, and I live in California, and I've been here since 1980. So technically, why can't I consider to be reparation? No, that's number one. And then number two, if you guys notice what we just explained, then they try to be like, well, reparations, we got to explore the options. Ain't really nothing to explore as far as the check. I mean, how you gonna give the check? If you guys gonna do mail, if you guys are gonna do direct deposit, I mean, maybe those options. Should the check be, should y'all get like a quarter of it, then another quarter? Should it be broken down in like half and half? Should it, like those are the only real options. It shouldn't be no option of well, we're gonna have $5 billion worth of college grants or loans. We're gonna have $2 billion worth of debt relief, credit card debt relief. Like, no, those are not reparations. Cyber9, thank you very much for the $5 super chat. B1 to you. I appreciate your support. I greatly do. Beatzilla is in here. I see you, brother. Now we're gonna read something else. We're gonna go to something else. Cash App. Hey, I love the Cash Apps. And I don't even really put my Cash App in my in this thing. I need to actually do that. But the Cash App, if you guys want to know, let me type it in. If you guys want to know, it's Afro Elite 10. Okay, so that's the Cash App. That is the Cash App. So y'all know. All right, let me get to this other article. But I appreciate the super chats too, because I know y'all like to leave messages too. So I appreciate that. Let me see. The only option, cut the check to FBAs. I 100% agree. I 100% agree. And thank you very much for your super chat, the $10 super chat. I 100% agree. There's no other option. We're not doing no $1 million worth of, you know what I'm saying, housing grants and all. No, we're not doing that. We are not playing that game. You need to cut the check. That's the only option. But that does show, to be honest, I will give credit for the fact that we are making progress. Even though they're trying to sabotage the progress going forward, we're still making progress, because years ago, like let's say 10 years ago, they wouldn't have even considered doing this. There was no reparations task force 10 years ago. Like they just said, the reparations task force happened in 2020. That's like 2 years ago. So 10 years ago, we were not this close. We're much closer now than we were 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not trying to say we should do a victory lap, because we shouldn't. It's not that time. But I want us to understand that we are pushing the needle forward. But I want to get to this. This was sent to me. Let me open this up. And another thing they like to do, they didn't do it in the last article, but another thing that they like to do is they like to add the black and brown thing. They're steady heavy on that. They are steady heavy on that. But I want you guys to notice something. They always use black people as the face. It's black people suffering. It's black people who've been going through redlining. It's black people who are discriminated with the GI Bill. It's black people who went through slavery. It's black people who went through Jim Crow. It's black people who suffer all of these things. Remember when I did my broadcast about even the criminal indictment, and I showed uh, with modern statistics that Hispanics, the Mexicans, and then the non-Hispanic whites, they go to jail at the same rates now. Okay, it's only black people who go to jail disproportionately. There's anytime you look at any type of discrimination and you say, oh, well, Hispanics, they have it harder than the white folks. Yeah, but they don't have it nearly as hard as the black people. Not nearly. They always tie the black and brown as if black and brown are synonymous with the struggle. We're not at all. It's black people going through the struggle, and Hispanics, they just don't get treated as good as maybe the Asians or other more Eurocentric buffer classes. And that depends, to be honest. And that really does depend. That's very arguable. But I want us to read this, and I want y'all to see the little trick bag that they throw. Okay? Anytime we talk about reparations. Where is it? It's right here. YouTube is suppressing this channel tonight. We only got 53 people in here. We normally get much more than that. They still mad about the Balenciaga thing, I see. All right. And trust me, I look at the statistics, so I know it's about that. But okay, it is what it is. But you all make sure y'all share, please, and leave a like. We're going to show YouTube that it don't matter, that black empowerment is here to stay. So, reading this, it says black and Latino residents burned out of Palm Springs seek city reparations. Now, going down. Now, this was in November 30th. Okay. So, like last week sometime. Pearl Denvers was too young to understand why her mother was bundling her and her brother up and fleeing their family home on tribal land in Palm Springs. Denver's father, who built the house with his own hands, stayed behind to make a stand against the brutal 1950s urban renewal project that was seizing their prime downtown land for nothing. No legal process, no compensation, no relocation aid. In the years after, city employees and the fire department raised RAZED, not raised like raised up, but fire department raised and burned down the house in the area known as Section 14. Denvers said her father, a community spokesman and devoted family man, fell into alcoholism and never recovered. Now, I want to take a moment to kind of pause that for a brief second. Too often, we have problems in our family where we've had like maybe our grandfather, uncles, aunties go through different drug habits, go through different alcoholism problems, um, or escapism issues. And that is because that a large amount of that is because of trauma. A large amount of that is because of trauma. Okay. We have to understand when imagine back in 1950, you're working hard despite being a black man in 1950 in America. You're working hard. You build a house. You're raising a family every day in the morning, early in the morning at the crack of dawn. You're waking up. You're going outside to make sure you provide for your family. You built this land, your establishment, everything. And then the oppressor class comes in and they say, hey, well, that's nice. Thanks for building it for me. You can leave now. Can you imagine that? Imagine you building, and this is post slavery. Okay, in the 19th century, not that long ago. Not that long ago. Imagine you building your entire life, grinding and working your entire whole life to build a house for your family, to build some wealth on your family, to build a garden or whatever, to build your business or whatever. And then oppressor class, they come in and they say, hey, this is nice. I'll take this now. And you just got to leave. And a lot of us stood and they fought for the land, just like in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. They was all like, no, we're not about to leave. We're not about to build this and they'll just walk out and let y'all take it. And because of the fact that they had weapons that our people didn't have, they had access to resources that our people didn't have. Ultimately, unfortunately, our people lost that fight. So you can imagine the type of psychological damage that that does to people. We have businesses that because of the C19, I'm still not saying it, but the C19 situation in 2020, their businesses went bankrupt. They lost their businesses and they're not able to recover from that. There's people in modern society who are not able to recover from the loss of their business. Never. So can you imagine you build a business and then that business gets burned down mysteriously, or that business gets robbed or wrecked or whatever the case is, and you got to rebuild it again and again and again and again, and it feels like there's no hope? Because at the end of the day, somebody can come in and say, hey, you're the wrong race, so I can take anything that belongs to you. It really belongs to me if I want it, and there's nothing you can do about it. And they try to fight for it, and some of us won the fight. Some of us was all like, no, this is our land and we're gonna run you out. And much salute to that, and much salute to the people who fought, and unfortunately they um couldn't succeed, but they still fought an honorable fight. But can you imagine the type of psychological damage that that really does to a person? No wonder, and I'm not saying, I'm not justifying this whatsoever, not at all, not 1%. But no wonder they fell into alcoholism. No wonder they fell into um a bad drug habit, a bad gambling habit. No wonder they fall into these bad escapism habits, because they need something to kind of take them away from the pain and pressure of this world of anti-black racism. And if you know, that kind of happened with the crack epidemic. You know what I'm saying? You got people coming back from the war. They get denied their rights. You got people getting lynched in their uniforms, in their army uniforms. You still denied resources. You're being stripped from your jobs. You can't provide for your family. You're trying to make it every day and you can't. There's nothing you can do. And this crack, and I'm not justifying this at all. I don't want anybody to think that I am, but this crack it kind of takes the pain away. Or this crack, hey, if you can't make it nowhere else, you can sell it. You know what I'm saying? This is your only option, really, because it's not like anything else is making the ends meet besides selling this crack. And this isn't me justifying this, but this is me having empathy for their situation. And this is me saying that we have a very serious fight. When I read this is very sad for me to have to read this, that this devoted family man fell into alcoholism because he felt to himself he couldn't save his family and his home. That's very sad. And we have a very bad history of that. So when I hear about people who fall into this stuff, you know what I'm saying? I get upset with them because I do believe in agency. I do believe in self accountability. I do believe that you are 100% accountable for your actions. But I get more mad at the system of white supremacy because I know they're the ultimate problem. They're the people who caused the situation. They're the reason that this happened in the first place. So any bit, I believe in accountability 100%, but any bit I want to hold you all accountable for falling into a bad drug habit or falling into alcoholism or whatever the case is, I have to hold them more accountable because they are the ones who put you in that situation. They're the ones who pretty much who stripped you from everything and forced that situation upon you. So yeah, maybe you didn't have to do it, but they shouldn't have done it in the first place. So any bit of anger I have for them, which isn't even really anger, is anger at the fact that that happened to you. You know, because if you study the work of Neely Fuller, I believe you are a victim at the end of the day. Even though you shouldn't have did that, you're still a victim. They're the victimizer. So you can never be more mad at the victim for acting out on their victimhood more than you do towards the victimizer for putting the victim in that situation. Okay. I just had to digress with that. But let me hold on. I just closed it. Let me continue. Um okay, it goes down. It says, quote, "It tore apart my family." Denver said before a Los Angeles news conference on a amended reparations claim filed Tuesday against the city for what a state official called a city engineered Holocaust. Everybody wants to talk about the Holocaust, but nobody wants to talk about our Holocaust that we're still going through. Find that interesting. Okay. Now, it continues to say, speakers at the conference in Leimert Park ranked the Section 14 burnout with other historic racial atrocities, including the 1921 Tulsa race massacre in Oklahoma that destroyed a neighborhood called the Black Wall Street. Mind you, every time they bring that up, I want you guys to remember the Tulsa race massacre, that was not the only massacre, and that was not the only Black Wall Street. We had Black Wall Streets all around the nation. Okay, that was not the only one at all. That was the biggest one, that was the most notable one, but that was not the only one. Okay, but we're continuing. And the Rosewood massacre. Okay, that was another one too, which wiped out a black town in Florida in 1923. Okay. Sister Jazz is in the building. Be one of you, sister. And they saw their claim as part of the broader reparations movement for Black Americans that recently included compensation for descendants of owners of Bruce's Beach. Okay, if you guys know the situation, TBA did a excellent breakdown on the Bruce's Beach situation, who were displayed by the city of Manhattan Beach, the city of Manhattan Beach. The print is a little different. Manhattan Beach in 1924. Okay. This is where it gets very interesting. Now, the whole entire article thus far you've read, it's been about Black struggle. It's been about Black struggle from 1950s to 1920s, the race massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, the race massacre in Florida, Bruce's Beach, all of these things, Black Wall Street, all of these things. Now watch the little twist. Pay attention to this. Then it goes down. Okay, we're still reading. The city of Palm Springs apologized in 2021 for the Section 14 razing and fires, which happened in 1950s and 60s. But advocates say there has been no action in 14 months. In the amended claims filed to the city clerk, former residents and their descendants say the city owes them up to $2 billion in damages for the forcible removals, which took place with little to no notice, and sometimes destroyed houses with personal belongings inside. The claim identifies 250 survivors and 100 descendants, but advocates expert accept the final list of claimants to climb. The more people who can fill that claim, right? Speakers on Tuesday described the damage estimate of 400 million to 2 billion. Developed by their economist consultant as an opening gambit in what is expected to be complex negotiations with the city. Okay. Now we're still going, right? Quote, "Don't tell me that Palm Springs can't afford it," said economics Jalilian Melverix. I believe that's Jalilian Melverix, dean of Cal State Los Angeles College of Ethnic Studies, who developed the 2 billion estimate. This could be done over the course of 5, 10, 20 years, but there must be a possibility of reversing this harm. Section 14, 646 acres of downtown property was owned by Agu Khalid. I keep trying to pronounce that name. It's difficult for me to. Agu Khalid. Forgive me if I'm mispronouncing. Band of Kalayu Indians, and is now the site of a casino. I was about to say casino. Conversation centers the hotel, although some land remains undeveloped. Known to residents as the reservation, the land was restricted by the federal government to short-term leases until 1950s. Now here is the thing that kind of blew me. Okay. It says the tribe leased plots to Black and Latino workers. The tribe leased plots to Black and Latino workers excluded from much of the rest of the city by racial real estate convents and leasing practices. I'm gonna just read the rest of the thing, then I'm gonna stop it, because I don't need to read the whole article. I just really wanted to get to that part. At its peak, advocates said at least 1,000 domestic shavers, builders, and others lived in Section 14, working to turn the desert town into a playground for the wealthy and Hollywood stars like Lucille Ball and Frank Sinatra. Now, before I go, I want to give a special thank you to our sister Queen Nile for the $20 super chat. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate your $20 super chat, super sticker. I greatly appreciate that. All of your support, all of everybody's support is greatly appreciated. So it's truly appreciated. I know people say that, but I truly appreciate that. So shout out to her for the $20 super sticker. But I brought that up to say, when we have these conversations of reparations, do you guys notice that they just like shoehorn Latinos into the conversation? Do you guys notice that? Where at all did Latinos fit in that conversation? Where is the Latino struggle? To be honest, I'm glad that they made the article the way they did. Okay, because this always shows, and then the natives, they bought in. Oh yeah, native reserve. Like where did these people come up? And this is a reflection. That article is an accurate deflection of how America treats the grievance of black people. It's the black father who built a home, and his home was taken with the convict leasing not the convict leasing program. What was the thing? It slips my tongue. It slips my tongue. What was that thing that his lost the? Let me see. Father who sees where was I cannot believe I forgot what the name of that thing was. Urban Renewal Project. It was black people who lost things with the Urban Renewal Project in 1950. It was black people who suffered. This man went into depression, went into alcoholism. This little girl had to watch her father, who was a hardworking man, become an alcoholic. And then his wife had to deal with her husband becoming an alcoholic and her having to take care of the kids after losing their home that they built, the wealth that they built. Okay, it was black people who were in Bruce's Beach, who made Bruce's Beach a thing, a prime real estate. It was black people who did that with Bruce's Beach. It was black people who had their property burned down in Tulsa, Oklahoma, who had their property stolen from them, and all of these other black Wall Streets around the nation who were deleted, who were murdered in those times because they didn't want to give up their property, despite the fact that in the Constitution they say you have a right to your own property and nobody can just take your property away. But they don't, because black people are never, and I've said this before, the oppressor class, they have taught themselves not to see black society as human. They have taught themselves not to see black people as human. So when they wrote the Constitution, they were not counting black people. Even still today in 2022, they don't really see black people as human beings. So when they do stuff to harm, to victimize, to subjugate black people, that's cool to them because they don't see it as bad. They don't, that's like a deer. You know, you drive by and you see a dead deer, you're like, oh man, that's nah, that's sad. That's sad. But you don't, it's not the same feeling that you would get if you saw a human being. If you saw a human being laying there dead on the side of the road, you gonna stop. You gonna be like, oh man, what happened? You would feel some type of way because that's a human being. You're not gonna feel no type of way. You see a little squirrel on the side of the road, a raccoon, you ain't gonna feel no type of way. And this is how they see us. They don't see us as humans. They've taught themselves not to see us as humans the way they see themselves. And they teach their children that. That is the suffering and the grievance that black people had to go through. And mind you, this is not even touching on slavery. This stuff happened in the 19th century. They went as far back as Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. Okay, and you still have a descendant of Tulsa, Oklahoma, I believe alive today, who wants reparations from that. And then further in the article, they was all like, oh yeah, and see, this is why black and Latino, where is Latino involved in this? Where did you get Latino from? Where is that coming from? Where is even the Native Americans coming from? Because when they talk about the Trail of Tears, they don't talk about black people at all. Not 1% do they mention black people. You said 2 or 3 are still, 2 or 3? I thought it was only 1. But yeah, well, you got people who are still alive today who have had to suffer through that. Had to get my tea, y'all. Gotta get my tea. There's another thing I want to show, because they don't stop anytime. What the tactic is, so you guys know, what the tactic is the fact that they're like, the conversation of reparations clearly is not going anywhere. We can't stop the conversation. We can't make it's not dying down. They're not leaving it alone. So what we have to do is, since it's something that they cannot stop, they have to sabotage it. Okay. I want to show y'all this real quick. Hold on, let me get this off the screen. I want to show y'all this. This was tagged to me on Twitter by August Sky. All right. Hope y'all can see this, right? Okay. I'm just going to pull this up. I'm not going to read the article. I'm just going to look at this. Okay. Providence offers reparations to address racism. White people can apply. Huh? Okay. The city is attempting to rectify its history of discrimination against Black and Native American people through reparations, but half of its white residents could apply. Really? So in the article, now I read the whole thing, but in the article, it goes on to say the same exact way the other one did. It goes on to say the struggles of Black people struggles, Black people did this, Black people were discriminated, Black people redlining, Black people this, Black people, the Highway Act, Black people this, and this. So we got to give the money to Black and white people. What? The same way the one did before is the same way this one is doing now. Okay. Yeah, PC can apply, apparently, for the reparations for the damage that they caused. That is, but let me show you this, because what I'm glad he did, he went to, let me see if I can go to, hold on, let me zoom back. Now this is where he zoomed it, because this is where they talk about it. It says, while Elsra, boy, I'm trying, y'all. While Elsra has focused on how the program could help the city's Black and Native American residents, there is a hunch it's race neutral. Black and Native American Providence residents qualify automatically, but the city has also established a separate income criteria that could include about half. Now they're talking about half the residents. So this is why I say it is very, very important for us to be specific. Now I'm going to keep my eye on this case when it comes to the California reparations, because more news and information is coming out about it. But even with the California reparations, we saw a little bit of the trick bag in that. We saw a little bit of the trick bag, like, I don't know. We're not sliding with that. It's not no multi option thing. No, we're not. That doesn't pass. That don't pass. That don't pass. That don't pass. So we see that with that. And then we see, then we see them on the other extreme. See, what they like to do is they like to let me find a good analogy for it. Okay. The tactic of both sides of the argument. Okay. They play both sides of the argument. So what they're going to do is they're going to say Black and brown, because they already know what we're thinking. If you don't think that they see the programs that we put out on YouTube, if you don't think that they see the conversations that we have on Twitter and on Twitter Spaces and all of these other committees and things like that, if you don't think that they are paying very close attention, I'm here to inform you that they are. They are paying very close attention to it. Otherwise, they wouldn't even be talking about it, because they're not talking about it because they want us to have it. So what they do is they'll say the Black and brown, Black and brown, Black and brown. And they know a lot of us is going to be repelled to that. So then you'll have some on this side that has their language a little bit tighter. They don't say Black and brown. They don't say Black and brown. They say descendants of slaves, people who identify as Black, or Black people who were here before 19th century. They always leave a little like trap in the article that they hoping that will get by you. They're always leaving that. Some of the traps, like the black and brown, the black and Native American, they're obvious. They're for the people who, no disrespect, but they're for the people who are just getting into black empowerment. They're for the people who are not fully aware of their tactics. That's for them. For the people who are more educated, they have a more sophisticated trap. Their more sophisticated traps are by saying descendants of slaves or free black people who were here prior to 19th century. That's a very sophisticated trap, because the person who's not that educated, they're gonna see it like, oh yeah, that makes sense. See, I agree with that. I agree with that. But that's a trap that's is gonna get by you. It's gonna get past you. So it's very important for us to pay attention to every single thing. We have to read everything word by word, because when the checks start rolling, they're gonna be like, oh no, we said this, y'all agreed to this. This is what we said, this is what's on the books. So we got to make sure anything and everything is vetted and approved the way we say it is. That's what we got to do. Said exactly. The loopholes, exactly. They always put loopholes, just like they did with affirmative action. Even more than the loophole of affirmative action, you guys know what the biggest loophole in America is? Slavery. Slavery is the biggest loophole in America. They said, we'll end slavery with the 13th Amendment, and they created a loophole saying that, okay, but if we say you're a criminal, then you're a slave. And then we'll just call all black people criminals. We don't even got to prove they're a criminal. We can just say it. We're when we say so. That is literally the biggest loophole in American history, is the 13th Amendment that nobody wants to talk about. That's the biggest loophole, saying that slavery ended except for crime and punishment. And we get to determine who we punish, and it's y'all niggas. That's the biggest loophole. So we got to get we have to be very, very cognizant of all of the loopholes, all of the games, all of the languages and trick bags. We have to have foresight. We have to be able to see, if we apply this today, how will this look 10 years down the road? How will this look 20 years down the road? And that's why we've been able to make progress, because we're not just accepting anything. We're being very persistent and unapologetically uncompromising on what we demand. That's how we are able to do it. Cynthia, how are you, sister? It says, it's cool. We all need edification. We don't know it all. Yeah. When one doesn't work, then think tank time. Yeah. But I don't want to say this to make you think that, oh, it's all doomed, we're just doomed, because we're making progress. Okay, before it was all like reparations, we wouldn't, the thought of having a reparations task force was unthinkable. In the words of Bernie Sanders, it's unfeasible. It would be unfeasible to have a reparations task force. Oh, hell no. Hell no. The left and the right would say, oh, no, reparations? No, for what? No, hell no. Now it's all like, oh, we see they're not letting our reparations things go. So we can't say we're not going to talk about it. We have to say we're going to talk about it now. We have to, because they won't let it go. And this has been all the way since 2000, really since Dr. Claude Anderson. Okay, so this has been going on for decades, but the big public push has been like for the last 4 years or so. Okay. And the big public push of it, and especially the push of us having it lineage based, that's been like within the last like 4 or 5 years or so. So that's that. Okay, so now it's they got to do it. Exactly. Don't listen to the naysayers, because it was, oh, how will America pay that money? America, that's too much money. America would go broke. America doesn't have that much money, except for, Ukraine, and, except for, the pandemic, and, except for everyone else. But not for America would go broke if it paid niggas. That's really what they're saying. Oh, the dominant society would never agree. Just give it up. They would never agree. They would never agree. That's another one. What's another one? What's another excuse that they come up with? Um, um, how will we know who gets it? It's we would never be able to find out who gets it. All of that stuff. We didn't let that stop us at all. We've been on their bumper ever since. And now they're forced to talk about it. Now you got every state in the nation talking about some form of reparations. They're talking about reparations in Illinois and Evanston, which isn't reparations, so there's just like a housing grant, and I've already discussed that. But they're using the word reparations. They're using that. You have never in your life heard the words reparations all over the place that you have now. Never before has America talked about every other thing being reparations. They've never talked about it as publicly and frequently as they have now. And that's all because of us. So I want to thank you all for the work that you guys have been doing, the persistent work that you guys have been doing. Okay, pushing the message forward, pushing the needle forward. This is how we make progress. This is how we change the future for the next generation. This is how we do that. Oh yeah, that one. The class niggas just gonna give it back to Dwight. Yeah, exactly. All y'all gonna do is buy Jordans and chains and rims on your car. Y'all just gonna give it back. Not that that's any of their business anyway. But no. Because let's say if 100% of foundational Black Americans got reparations and only 80% just wasted it, throwing it away. Wasted it on perishable goods, all of that. Let's say they did. If 20% put their heads together and say, hey, I got $500,000, you got $500,000, you got $500,000, you got $500,000. Together that's $2 million. What we gonna do with $2 million? That's just four. That's just four people. That's just four. And that's only saying it's 500,000. That's just four. Talking about industries, businesses, schools, corporations, all of these things. With just four people, they have the opportunity to do anything. With just four. That's why they're scared. Because they know, a lot of them gonna waste it. And that is what it is. That's unfortunate. But too many of them won't. That is the problem, because the thing with the dominant society is they don't care if things change to you a little bit. They don't, and let me be 100% honest with you. They don't mind a rich Black person. They're cool with rich Black people. They're cool with Black people being rich. If they say who the Black person is, though. If they give the okay for that Black person to be rich, they'll be fine with it. If one or two Black people, if they slip up and they make it, and then that's fine. They don't have a problem with that. What they have an issue with is the change of the status quo. That is the only thing that they are worried about. One or two Black celebrities being rich, one or two Black business people being rich. What's that gonna change? 4 or 5 Black business people being rich, like, that's a problem. Well, I don't know about all that. 10, 20 Black business people being rich. Oh no, no. That's a bad trend going on right over there. We got to stop that. That's how they think. That's how they act. Because they're very sensitive about the status quo changing. That's it. As long as the status quo is they're up here and we're down here, and every time we move up, they move up, they're fine. They're fine. They are 100% fine. As long as the status quo stays the same. And that's what we have to change. So that's why we have to close that wealth gap, because that's what's keeping the status quo. That's that barrier in between us and them, that every time we go up, they go up because of that wealth gap. We have to break that barrier, that wealth gap barrier. We have to break that. So let me see. Hold on. You said if we could have access to Professor Charles Ogden and Johnny Cochran papers they drafted in their lawsuit versus U.S. versus reparations, that would be good. We should sue it. We should sue it. That would be yeah, we do need that. We should look it up. And much respect to our brothers who have fought. And that's the thing. I'm glad you brought that up, brother, because reparations is not a recent fight. Now, it's a fight that's getting really pushed on the forefront in recent times, yeah, but it's been a fight that we've been having for generations. Before I was even born, they were fighting for reparations. Ever since we were denied the 40 acres and a mule, really, in 1865, we've been fighting for reparations. So it's been a long time coming. Yeah. Yeah, hey, Jazz is on it. Y'all don't play no games. Jazz is not playing no games. She is not playing no games. It says chilling with Monica. He is a white Latino trying to exploit reparations. He is. It says while we don't have lawsuits against these organizations, blacks are American slaves. Nobody else. 100%. 100%. Absolutely. I'm going to put this video in the playlist because I have a whole playlist about reparations. So I'm going to put this video in the playlist. And also after this, I'm going to link in the comment section a video I did. Link a video I did that will link to the playlist. So if you guys are new, you guys should check that playlist out. We've been on here for a good minute, so we're about to wrap it up for tonight. You guys can make sure I'm gonna post a small little video tomorrow too, like around 6 o'clock Central. So you guys want to come back around that time. Brothers and sisters, y'all be cool, y'all be good. Y'all should follow me on my social media. The link is in the description below. It's the Afro Elite on Twitter and then Afro Elite on Instagram. Also, too, please make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. Make sure you do that. And then make sure you follow on social media. That way, even if YouTube still does not give you the notifications, you'll see it on Twitter or you see it on Instagram. So yes, good night, brothers and sisters out here. B1 to Royal Me. Good night. Good night, bro. Rob Big. I don't want to butcher your name. I'm just gonna say good night, Robbie. Robbie Chacks. Our sister Jazz. Our brother RG Titan. Cyberdyne. Carla. Lamar West. Real Women Do Not Do Nonsense. Chilling with Monica. David, I didn't see your comment. Black people aren't going to have it right. Yeah. It says they know that's last call for alcohol. It says they know that majority of black people are going to do the right thing with that money because, David is in here. Cynthia, be one to every single last one of you. Oh, Beatzilla, be one of you. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you guys for being here with us. We had a pretty good broadcast, pretty educational, I think. Let me know what you think in the comments section below. What do you think about the California Task Force and us getting reparations? What do you think about any of the articles that I read so far? What do you give me your opinion. Let me know what you think. With that being said, brothers and sisters, I will see you, Chris. I see you, brother. With that being said, brothers and sisters, I will bid you all a farewell, a good night. I will see you guys tomorrow at 6 o'clock.